Kobe Bryant's 81-point outburst last night against the helpless Toronto Raptors was the second highest point total in NBA history, and it was more than Michael Jordan ever scored.
Okay, so you may be wondering, what does that clip have to do with anything? But it actually means a lot. Okay, so you may be wondering, what does that first clip have to do with anything about the NBA scoring? But it's actually very important because it actually set the tone for our modern day scoring, if you were to ask me. Because I feel like now every day, every player is dropping 40 points, or there's some random player dropping 50 and that you never heard of. I mean, you could say, oh, the players now are more skilled than they were back then. They developed their shot better, Everybody can play every role on the court, but I feel like that is false. And let me explain why. Alright, and when I mean defense is gone, I mean, like, in a way, there's no point of even playing defense in the NBA anymore without getting fouled or, supposedly fouling a player. Like, look at this clip. His defender didn't even touch Shea, and yet Shea got the call. And this is just another example of how it's affecting the NBA scoring, because if you have players like Shea or other big face names like Kate Cunningham, just like them, imagine they're attempting at least like 8 to 10 free throws per game, and no one's even touching them, and that's helping them increase their scoring. And I feel like they're doing it on purpose because of the NBA. They want to inflate player stats just so it can make them seem like they're even better than what they actually are. And I'm not upset that the NBA is doing that. It's actually pretty smart, but at the same time, like, it's what's killing the game and what's not making it fun to watch. And here on the screen is a picture of how many free throws the top players in the NBA are attempting per game. And if you look at how many points these players are averaging per game compared to the amount of free throws they're attempting, you can see why they're averaging so many points. And I feel like this is all because the NBA, they want to prioritize offense and having all these flashy clips of these players doing crazy step backs, pulling up from half court, and they just want to inflate the stats just so they can seem really good for social media. And this is why I think defense is gone, because I feel like these players are just looking to get fouled, whether that means bumping into people and creating the contact, and the refs just calling it just to call it, just because the NBA has an agenda and wants certain players to score points, like SGA, for example. But I mean, the NBA has always been like that. They want certain guys to be the face of the NBA, so they're going to inflate their stats by giving them any call they want. And this has been happening ever since the NBA has been around, where they, they're going to prioritize certain guys, whether they're the face of the NBA, And so to see how this has been going on, the NBA has always had a scoring problem. We have to look at the history. Okay, and for the scoring history of the NBA, I feel like back then, averaging 30 points or 25 points back then was actually impressive, because, number one, they were attempting fewer threes, because nowadays you have guys shooting like at least 50 threes per game, and it was way more physical back then, where, if you get fouled, you might not get the call, or you might just have to play through it. And the points teams average back then were not that high, and scoring 30 points back then was impressive, because Michael Jordan has 10 scoring titles, and nobody modern day has ever came close to that, except maybe Kevin Durant, who has like 5, or I'm not sure. I'll show a picture on the screen, but overall back then I felt like scoring actually meant something. But now you have players like on every team averaging 30 points, and I feel like it just makes it less impressive than it has to look. And if we skip to the 2000s, we have players like Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, almost averaging 30 points a game. And you can start to see a trend where instead of just having 1 or 2 guys average 30, now it's starting to become multiple players throughout the NBA. And I feel like that's after the NBA became less physical, to the point where now you have guys going to the free throw line, like I said, attempting a lot of free throws. And now if we go to the 2010s to 2020s, with the change of more guys shooting threes, to the point where we have at least 100 threes being attempted on both sides or something like that.
You know, I feel like that's what directly led to everybody averaging 30 points a game. You know, defense became less physical, more calls started becoming called, and a big important factor is threes. You know, instead of people actually trying to finish at the rim, now they're just shooting threes, and that's what led to our scoring increasing by a lot. You know, so in conclusion, NBA scoring has become a problem now because if we look back from maybe a few people averaging 30 points, which actually meant something, it was impressive. Like when Michael Jordan would drop 50 or other guys would drop 60, it was like, damn, he dropped 60. Like for Kobe Bryant, like at the beginning of the clip, he dropped 8, you know, he dropped that crazy amount, which actually is impressive. But now if you look at modern day, you have like players dropping 50, 60, 71 points a game. And it starts to become, it's just not impressive. And that's pretty much all I have to say. That's my opinion on why the NBA has this major scoring problem. You know, it's changed throughout history. People stop playing defense as much because, like I said, it's just a main offensive game now. Nobody really cares about defense, and I hope the NBA makes that change. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe.